Right. Let's unpack. I want us to start with a visualization exercise. I want you to close your eyes. Well, unless you're driving, please don't. But just imagine a master carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean someone who, just bought a tool belt at Home Depot yesterday. I mean someone who has spent the last 25, maybe 30 years building their own workshop from the ground up.
Right. The kind of place that just smells like sawdust and old iron and just decades of hard work.
Exactly that smell. This person, they know every inch of that room. They know that the third floorboard over by the window creaks when it's about to rain.
Yeah.
They know exactly where the table saw is positioned so the light from the window hits the wood grain perfectly at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
They've got their whole workflow just dialed in.
Completely. They have chisels that have been sharpened so many times they've actually changed shape to fit their specific grip.
Wow.
And the blueprints for every cabinet, every chair, every house frame they've ever built are all filed away in a big metal cabinet.
So that workshop isn't just a room with tools in it. It's an extension of their brain. It's their muscle memory.
It's how they feed their family.
Right. It's their livelihood.
It's their entire livelihood wrapped in wood and steel.
Yeah.
So now imagine that carpenter wakes up on a Monday morning, let's just say, hypothetically, Monday, February 2nd.
Okay.
And they walk out to the backyard with their coffee, ready to start on a new commission. And the shed is gone.
Just gone.
Vanished. There's just a patch of dirt where it used to be. And lying there on the grass is a single bright yellow sticky note.
Oh, no.
And it reads, "We've decided to pivot to manufacturing plastic patio furniture. You have 28 days to figure out a new career. Good luck."
Wow. That is a visceral, terrifying image. It's the kind of thing that wakes you up in a cold sweat.
It is. But if you work in the animation industry, that is not a metaphor. That is not a bad dream. That is exactly, almost literally what happened this week.
It sounds hyperbolic when you put it that way, but looking at the reports we have in front of us, it really isn't. I mean, we are talking about an event that has completely destabilized a massive sector of the entertainment industry.
To put it in perspective for the gamers listening to this, imagine if Epic Games announced tomorrow that the Unreal Engine simply ceases to exist in 4 weeks.
The whole thing, just gone.
Or for the accountants out there, imagine if Microsoft Excel disappeared from your computer. That is the scale of the shockwave we're talking about.
And the news is now official.
The news has officially dropped. Adobe has announced the complete discontinuation of Adobe Animate,
Which was formerly and, famously known as Flash.
the legend itself. Flash. This isn't just a piece of software. This is the backbone of internet history.
It really is. It's in the DNA of the early web, of, a whole generation of creators.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We are not just going to read the press release and move on. We're going to unpack the absolute chaos.
A lot to get into.
We need to look at the time, which, spoiler alert, is absolutely brutal. We need to explain this technical nightmare of why you can't just, move your files to another program. That's something I think a lot of people are confused about.
That's the whole toolshed problem we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's crucial to understand why that's not possible.
And then we need to connect all of this to the much bigger, much scarier war that's happening, right? The war between human creativity and the corporate pivot to artificial intelligence. Because make no mistake, the sources we're looking at are screaming that this is the driving force behind the death of Animate.
It's the subtext of every single line in that announcement from Adobe. You can just read it between the lines.
So let's start with the announcement itself, because when I first read this timeline, I honestly thought it was the typo. I thought, surely they mean next year.
I did too. I had to check 3 different industry sources just to be sure. I was looking at the reports from Cartoon Brew, the analysis from places like Clownfish TV, and they all said the same thing. I couldn't believe it.
So walk us through the dates. Lay it out for us.
Okay, so the announcement officially dropped on Monday, February 2nd, 2026.
A Monday, the start of the work, just a gut punch to start.
Yep. And the software is officially discontinued. And that means no new downloads, no new licenses. It's essentially dead for any new business effective March 1st.
Okay, stop right there. February 2nd to March.
That is exactly 28 days.
28 days, and it's February.
It is the shortest month of the year. They really couldn't have picked a tighter window if they'd tried.
They couldn't even give them a leap year buffer or something. That is just, it's shockingly fast. I mean, usually when a company sunsets a piece of software, especially something that is the industry standard for television production, you get a runway, right? You get some time.
A runway. You usually get an entire airport. Standard professional courtesy for enterprise software like this is a year, minimum.
A whole year.
Often 2 or 3 years. You announce what's called a sunset phase. Say, hey, everyone, in 2027, we are going to stop update. 2028, we turn off the authentication server. You give people time.
Time to finish their seasons, migrate their pipelines, train their staff on whatever new thing they have to use.
Exactly. You let them land the plane gracefully.
This isn't a sunset. This is a guillotine.
It's a rug pull. It's the lights are going out in 10 seconds. Good luck finding the door in the dark.
So why? Why would a company as big and established as Adobe do something that seems so actively hostile to its own?
Well, the speculation in the source material regarding why it's this fast is it's pretty cynical, but it makes a whole lot of business sense. Ignore the human cost.
I love cynical business speculation. Let's hear it.
It's all about revenue retention. It's a cancel button theory.
Okay, how does killing a product fast save you money? I would think you'd want to keep people paying for as long as possible.
Think about human behavior. If Adobe announces, hey, in 12 months, Animate is dead, what is the very first thing you do as a subscriber?
I cancel. Instant. Why would I pay $50 a month or whatever it costs for a product that's on death row?
Of course not.
I'm going to use that money to buy the competitor, Toon Boom, and start learning it today.
Exactly. You stop the bleeding instantly, you cut the cord, but if they drop the hammer with a window of less than 30 days, panic sets. You can't cancel it.
You can't. You're trapped.
You have to scramble. You have to spend that entire next month desperately opening every single file you've ever made, exporting data, trying to archive your libraries, figuring out what the hell to do.
So you have to stay subscribed for that last frantic month because you need the tool to save your own work before it vanishes forever.
They squeeze one last billing cycle out of the corpse.
That is the reading from the community, yes. It keeps the cash flow looking positive for Q1 while everyone is running around with their hair on fire.
Wow. That is dark. It's like charging admission to a burning building because people need to run back in to get their cats.
That's a grim analogy, but it absolutely fits.
Now, to be fair to the fine print, are they turning the lights off completely on March 1st? Like, does the app just delete itself from your desktop like Mission Impossible message?
I certainly hope not. That would be a whole other level.
Not quite. The sources detail what they call a life support phase, but it's complicated, and we really need to parse what support actually means here.
Okay, let's break that down.
For individual users, so we're talking freelancers, students, the Newgrounds crowd-limited support extends into 2027.
And for the big guys?
For enterprise customers, so your Warner Bros., your Disneys, the Nickelodeon support goes until 2029.
Okay, so if I'm a big studio, I have 3 years.
Yeah.
That sounds manageable, right? 3 years is a long time.
You would think so, but you have to define support.
There's the catch.
In corporate software speak, support during a sunset phase usually just means we will make sure the program open and doesn't introduce a massive security vulnerability that allows hackers to steal all of your company's data.
So it's basically zombie mode. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Essentially. It does not mean bug fixes. It does not mean compatibility updates. So let's say Windows updates next year, Windows 13 comes out or whatever, and it breaks the way Animate handles drawing tab.
Adobe isn't going to fix it.
Not a chance. You're on your own.
So you're driving a car that will never, ever be serviced again. You're just waiting for a part to break.
And critically, no new feature. Meanwhile, the competitors, Toon Boom, Harmony, Moho, TV Paint, they're innovating every single day. They're adding new AI tools, better rigging systems, better compositing.
So you are actively falling behind the rest of the industry every single day that you continue to use this tool. You're working with something that's actively rotting.
Yeah, it's a tool that is decaying relative to the competition. And there's a specific phrase in the report that really scared me.
What was that?
It said that access to project data in its native environment eventually ends.
That's the cliff edge. That is the moment the tool shed actually vanishes for good.
That's the real end date.
I want to drill down into this because I think there's a massive misconception from people who don't work in animation. I saw so many comments online saying, what's the big deal? Just save your file as a video, just export it to MP4, or just open the file in another program.
Just export it. Yeah. If I had $1 for every time I saw that comment on Twitter this week, I could probably fund a new season of Smiling Friends by myself.
So why is that wrong? Why is this the tool shed problem? Why can't I just take my file and go somewhere else?
Because an Adobe Animate file, .fla file, is not a picture. It's not a video. It is a database. It is a piece of software in and of itself.
Okay, break that down for us. What is actually inside that file that isn't in, say, a JPEG?
Okay, let's contrast it. Imagine a video file, like an MP4. A video file is just a series of flat images playing really, really fast.
Yeah.
Frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. It's baked. You can't reach into the video and turn a character's head or make them blink. It's done.
Right. It's a cake. You can't take the eggs out of a bake.
That's a perfect analogy. Animate is the batter, the eggs, the flour, the oven, and the recipe card, all in one box.
So what's in the box?
Inside a .fla file, you have layers, just like in Photoshop. But more importantly, you have something called symbols.
Symbols. This is a very Flash-specific term.
It's the magic of Flash. It's what made it so powerful. Think of symbols as containers.
Okay.
Let's say you draw a hand. You turn that hand into a symbol. Now, you can use that hand 1,000 times in the animation without redrawing it. You just drag it from your library.
So it's like a rubber stamp.
A very smart rubber stamp.
Right.
Because if you decide later, oh, the character should be wearing gloves, you don't have to redraw 1,000 hands. You just open the one symbol, you draw the glove once.
And every single instance of that hand in the entire movie updates automatically. Efficiency. That's a massive, massive efficiency gain.
Huge. Then you have the timeline, which controls when things happen. You have the library, which holds all your assets, all your symbols. And crucially, you have scripting, action script.
Code, you mean actual computer code?
Actual code. There are entire animations where the movement isn't drawn, it's programmed. Move this ball from point X to point Y over 3 seconds using an ease and out curve.
So if you export that to a video,
you lose the math.
You lose the logic.
You lose the math. You lose the layers. You lose the symbols. You just get the flat image of the ball moving. But the biggest nightmare, the absolute catastrophe, is the rigging.
Rigging. I hear this term a lot in 3D animation, like rigging a skeleton for a Pixar character, but this is 2D animation. How does that work?
It works in a very similar way. In modern 2D animation, what we often call cutout or puppet animation, you don't draw every single frame from scratch anymore. That's too slow and expensive for TV. You build a puppet.
A digital.
Exactly. You draw the upper arm, the lower arm, and the hand as separate pieces. You connect them with digital bones inside Adobe Animate. You tell the software, this is an elbow, it bends like this, it cannot bend backward. That entire system of bones and constraints, that is a rig.
And that rig is specific to Adobe software.
It is proprietary math. It's a secret recipe. The way Animate calculates an elbow bend, the inverse kinematics as they call it, is completely different from the way Toon Boom Harmony calculates.
So if I take my Adobe Animate puppet, let's say it's a super complicated robot with hundreds of moving gears, and I try to force it open in Toon Boom.
It explodes. Or more likely, it just sits there as a pile of disconnected drawings. It's gibberish. The drawings might be there, the literal lines you drew, but the logic, the movement, the relationships between all the parts, all gone.
So going back to the carpenter analogy, this isn't like my favorite wrench broke and I need to buy a Craftsman wrench instead of a Snap-on.
No, not at all. That would be inconvenient, but you'd manage. This is different.
What's the better analogy?
This is like someone taking your car and handing you a unicycle.
A unicycle?
Yeah, think about it. You have a car. You have your seat presets programmed in. You have your mirrors angled just right. You know how the brakes feel. You know exactly how much pressure to apply to stop smoothly. You have a system.
Okay, I'm with you.
If I take your car and give you a unicycle, you can still travel. You can still get from point A to point B.
Technically, very, very.
But you can't transfer your seat setting. The data is fundamentally incompatible. You can't use your knowledge of the brake pedal because there is no brake pedal.
You have to relearn how to move from the ground up.
You have to rebuild your entire method of transportation from scratch. And that is exactly what studios are facing. When the report says exporting flat files doesn't preserve the environment, they mean you lose the ability to edit.
Right. The editability is...
If you export a flat video, you can't change the puppet's expression later. If the director comes in and says, that line reading isn't working, make him look angrier, and you only have the video file, you have to redraw the entire scene by...
A change that takes 5 minutes in the rig suddenly takes 5 hours by hand.
Exactly. Your productivity, your entire budget just collapsed.
And the source mentioned Clip Studio Paint as a sort of small-scale comparison for how annoying...
Right. Any digital artist listening knows this pain intimately. If you get a new computer and you have to reinstall your software, just moving your custom brushes, your color palettes, your keyboard shortcut, that alone can take a whole day. It's a massive headache.
And that's just moving from one house to another.
This is your house burning down, and the insurance company handing you a pile of lumber and saying, build a new one, but oh, by the way, you have to use this different kind of hammer that you've never seen before in your life.
Which brings us to the fallout. Because I think a lot of people hear Flash, and they still think 2004, they think Homestar Runner, they think stick death cartoons.
New ground. The golden age of the web, the Wild West.
Which was great. I loved that era. But people don't realize that Flash grew up, put on a suit and tie, and got a corporate job.
It became the broadcast standard for a huge chunk of television animation everywhere.
So let's talk about the money. Because studios don't just wing it. They have these pipelines.
We're in section 3 now, the financial crater. A studio pipeline is a factory. It is an assembly line that has been refined, in some cases, over 25 years. You have the storyboard department, the layout department, the animation department, the compositing department, all working in sequence.
And for many of them, Animate is the engine of that entire factory.
For a lot of shows, yes. They have libraries of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of assets. Think about a show like The Simpsons. Though they use Toon Boom now, the principle is the same. You have backgrounds of every building in Spring. You have props, every sword, every coffee cup, every car. You have character rigs for every main character, every background character, every single costume change. All of it is built in .FLA format.
And if they're forced to switch software,
that is millions and millions of dollars of assets that effectively become digital landfill. You can't use them They're worthless overnight.
So you have to start completely from scratch.
And you have two massive costs hitting you at the exact same time. First, retraining.
Yeah.
You have a staff of 50 animators. They are wizards in Animate. They play it like a piano. They know every single shortcut. Now you have to hand them Toon Boom Harmony,
which I hear is a beast of a program to learn.
It is incredibly complex. It's nodal-based for compositing, which is a completely different way of thinking than Animate's simple layer system.
Yeah.
It's learning a new language. You have to pay for training. And while they're learning, they are incredibly...
So the show immediately falls behind schedule.
Drastically. Then you have the second cost, rebuilding. You have to pay teams of people just to recreate every single character rig in the new software.
And that takes time.
A good rig takes time. A complex character rig can take weeks to perfect so it doesn't break when the character bends over or turns their head. Now multiply that by every character in the show.
And what if you are in the middle of production? What if you're halfway through making season 4 of a hit show?
That's the budget blowout. Imagine you're the showrunner. You have to go to the studio executives and say, hey, remember that budget we locked in 6 months ago? I need double that. And also the show will be 6 months late.
And studio executives are famous for their generosity and deep understanding of creative problems.
Right. They are famous for saying no.
So what happens in reality?
The expert insight in our reports is pretty grim. The executives will likely turn to the showrunner and say, we paid for a show delivered on X date for Y dollars. We don't care about your software problem. Figure it out.
That's a you problem, not my problem.
Which means crunch. It means animators working nights and weekends, unpaid overtime, massive burnout, just to rebuild a pipeline that was destroyed by a corporate decision they had absolutely no say in.
It's absolutely brutal, and we have to name the shows. We have to make this because this isn't some obscure niche software. This is our culture.
The list provided in the source material is stacked. Let's start with Smiling Friends.
I love that show. It's huge right now on Adult Swim, a massive hit.
A huge cultural phenomenon. And it is built entirely in Animate. Then there's My Little Pony, Friendship is Mad.
The show that launched 1,000 conventions, the whole Brawny movement, that was all Flash.
All Flash. Total Drama Island, the original Metalocalypse, even video games, the assets for the game Among Us.
Wait, really? The little crewmate, the Beans.
The Bean. They are vector art, created and animated in Flash Animate.
So when I say R.I.P. Smiling Friends, I'm not saying the creator is going to quit. I mean, Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack are geniuses. They'll figure something out. But the look of the show...
That's the key. The tool shapes the art. Smiling Friends has a very specific, chaotic aesthetic. It's jittery. It mixes weird, low-res bitmaps with the clean vectors. It's fast and loose.
And that looseness is a feature of Animate.
It is. Toon Boom is cleaner. It's more professional in a way that might actually hurt the vibe of a show like that. It's too perfect.
It's like asking a punk band to re-record their first album, but in a world-class symphony hall.
The perfect analogy. You're playing the same notes, but the soul is different. The grit is gone. And then there's a human element that we haven't even touched on yet, the lost generation.
This part just breaks my heart.
There are thousands of students right now in art schools all over the world, or their recent grads. They've spent tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on tuition. Their major, 2D animation, their primary tool they learned.
Adobe Animate.
Adobe Animate. They bought the degree. They put in thousands of hours.
And now the main skill on their resume is for a language that is effectively dead in the professional world.
It's like graduating with a degree in Latin the day after Rome fell.
Oh, what do they do?
They are frozen out of the end. Unless they can afford to pay for new training on new software immediately, they are basically unhireable for the studio pipelines that are now forced to switch.
Or they can pivot to what Adobe clearly wants them to do instead.
The elephant in the room. Or should I say, the AI-generated elephant in the room.
The pivot to AI.
This is section 4. And this is where the raw anger from the community comes from. This isn't just about a software update. This is about ideology.
And Adobe has been shouting this from the rooftops for a while now. We are an AI company.
They don't want to be a tool maker anymore. They want to be a magic wand maker. They look at OpenAI, they look at NVIDIA, they look at that sweet, sweet tech bubble valuation, and they want a piece of that pie.
But the source material asks a very pointed question. If everyone is an AI company, what makes Adobe special anymore?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? If I can go to ChatGPT or Midjourney and generate a high-quality image for pen, why do I need an expensive Adobe subscription? What are they offering?
Their value proposition was always, we give you the best hammer. Now they're saying we have a robot that builds houses, but
the robot is bad at its job.
The source material was not subtle about this point.
No. One report described Adobe's current suite of AI tools as, I believe the technical term used was dog shit.
We're keeping it real here on the deep dive.
But let's be specific about why it's bad. It's not just that it's ugly, it's that it's functionally useless for professional work. The example given in the sources was generative fill, trying to fix eyes in a photograph.
Ah, yes, the dead eyes problem. I've seen this.
You circle the eyes, you type fix this, and the AI gives you mismatched pupils, alien-looking lighting, or a skin texture that looks like melted plastic. It doesn't understand context.
It's the uncanny valley every single time.
Now, apply that problem to animation. Animation requires absolute consistency. Frame 1 has to look like frame 2. If the character's eyes change color every time they blink because the AI is hallucinating, you don't have a cartoon. You have a psychedelic nightmare.
So they are burning down a reliable, professional tool Animate that works perfectly fine to force people into an AI workflow that doesn't actually work.
It's a massive gamble. They are betting the farm on a horse that hasn't even learned to walk properly. And this fits a pattern. It's what the community is calling the anti-artist pattern.
This isn't the first time the creative community has grabbed their pitchforks and marched on Castle Adobe.
Not at all. Let's just look at the rap sheet from the last few years. First, the creative cloud shift, the move to subscriptions.
You can never own your software. You just rent it until you die. People hated that. I still.
Then, the cancellation fee. You try to leave, and they hint you with a massive, hidden, early termination fee that costs as much as just staying subscribed.
I've been there. It's like trying to leave a gym membership that's run by the mafia. It's incredibly.
Then, the big one, the terms of service update from last year. The one that implied they could scan all your private work stored in their cloud to train their own AI model.
Right. We're going to use your art to teach the robot how to replace.
That was the breaking point for a lot of people. The trust just evaporated. So when this Animate news dropped, the reaction on social media places like Blue Sky, where a lot of artists have migrated, it wasn't just sadness, it was pure rage.
The quote that summed it up was, "Feck Adobe and feck AI."
It's succinct. It's a deep feeling of betrayal. These artists, these Flash animators, they built Adobe's reputation. They made the content that made the internet cool in the first place. And now Adobe is locking them out of the building and telling them they're obsolete.
But I want to play devil's advocate for a second here, because I don't want us to just be the old man yelling at a cloud show.
Sure, that's fair.
Is AI always the villain in this story? Because the source material actually gives us a really interesting counterexample, a glimpse of how it could work.
The Pixar example.
Exactly. Pixar and Google DeepMind, two absolute giants. They collaborated on a short film recently.
It premiered at Sundance, and yes, they used AI in the production.
Right.
But the methodology, the entire philosophy, was completely different from Adobe's.
How so? What did they do different?
Well, Pixar started with a visual goal. They wanted to achieve a moving painting look for their film. They wanted the frames to shimmer and have visible organic brushstrokes.
Which is really hard to do in 3D animation.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
3D is naturally clean. It's rigid. It calculates light and shadow perfect. Paintings are, by their nature, imperfect and expressive. So they used AI as a post-processing.
A post-processing tool, so like a filter.
A very, very advanced filter.
Yeah.
The human animators animated the characters. The human artists designed the look and feel. Then the AI acted as this smart filter to apply those brushstrokes to the finished animation based on the artist's specific inputs and style guides.
So the AI was a brush, it wasn't the painter?
That is the perfect way to put it. It solved a specific visual problem that was too complex to do by hand. And critically, it still required dozens of human animators. Nobody lost their job to the brushstroke bot. It empowered them to make something new, something they couldn't have made before.
See, that sounds exciting. That's the sci-fi future I actually signed up for.
That is AI as a tool. Adobe's approach is perceived by the community as AI as a replacement.
Right.
It feels like Adobe is betting that in 5 years, nobody will draw anymore. You will just type a prompt, funny cartoon about a dog who wants a taco, and the computer will spit out a finished TV show.
Which is a deeply depressing bet on the future of art. It removes the human soul from the entire process.
And ironically, it removes their own custom. Because if I can just type a prompt, I don't need to be an artist. And if I'm not an artist, why do I need Adobe's expensive creative suite?
So how is the market taking this big gamble? Because usually Wall Street loves efficiency. They love it when you fire people and hire robots.
Not this time. This is the Schadenfreude moment of our deep dive.
Okay, give me the numbers. I'm ready.
Following the announcement, Adobe stock took an absolute nosedive. The sources we're looking at report a drop of roughly 21% to 30%.
Ouch. 20 to 30%. That is a lot of value vaporized in a single day. That's a shareholder revolt.
It's a massive vote of no confidence from investors. They're looking at this and thinking, wait a second, you are actively alienating your core user base, the people who actually pay the monthly subscription fee, to chase a technology that isn't proven and that your customers actively hate.
Turns out, if you tell all of your customers you hate them, they might stop buying your stuff. Who knew? It's economics 101.
But there's a deeper issue here than just the stock price today. It's what the reports are calling the trust deficit.
Explain that. What does that mean?
Let's say Adobe panics from the stock drop. Let's say tomorrow morning they put out a new press release. We heard you. We made a mistake. Just kidding. Animate is staying. We love you guys.
Does everything just go back to normal? Do the animators rejoice?
No. Absolutely not. The damage is already done. If you are a studio head and you are planning a new show that you hope will run for 5 seasons, can you risk building their entire pipeline on Adobe software now?
No way. Because you know that on any given Monday, they might just kill it again. The precedent has been set.
You are building your entire multi-million-dollar skyscraper on quicksand. You have to diversify. You have to find alternatives. The trust is gone, and it may never come back.
Are there real alternatives? We've talked about Toon Boom, but what about the little guy? What about the freelancer or the student?
It's tough. Toon Boom is very expensive. It's priced for studios, not individuals.
So what about piracy? I saw people online immediately saying, yo ho ho, a pirate's life for me. Just pirate the old version of Flash CS6 and use it forever.
A classic solution from the old days of the internet. But it's getting much, much harder. Adobe is moving everything to the cloud. Think about a tool like Canva.
Right. It's a website.
Can you pirate Canva?
No, because it's not on my computer. I can't download the website and run it offline.
Exactly. If the software lives on their server, piracy becomes impossible. And the sources suggest that Adobe wants to become the Canva of corporate.
Yeah.
All web-based, all cloud-locked, all AI-driven.
So the Jolly Roger option, the pirate ship, slowly disappearing over the horizon.
It is. And open source, Linux.
I always hear that. Just use Linux. Use OpenTunes. It's free.
It's a noble goal. And the software is getting better. But for a creative professional on a deadline, it can be a nightmare.
Why?
Driver support for Wacom tablets, proper color calibration for professional monitors, software compatibility with what the rest of the studio is using. It is not plug and play.
You spend half your time being an IT technician just to get your pen to work instead of actually drawing.
Exactly. So artists feel trapped. The big familiar tool is dying. The main competitor is too expensive. The pirate ship is sinking. And the open source life raft still has some holes in it.
It really, really does feel like the end of an era, the day the Animate.
It's a major turning point. We are watching a legacy tool, something that defined a generation of creativity on the internet, being deliberately suffocated. And it's taking decades of work and history.
So what does this all mean for us? For you listening right now, maybe you aren't an animator. Maybe you've never opened a .la file in your life. Why should you care about this story?
Because this story is so much bigger than cartoon. This is about ownership in the digital age.
Go on.
If a tool is fundamental as Adobe Animate, something used by massive multi-billion-dollar corporations and millions of individuals, can just vanish in 28 days. What does that mean for any proprietary software that we all rely on?
Your word processor, your spreadsheet software, your photo library that holds all your family pictures.
Are we just renting our careers now? Are we renting our memories? We are building our entire lives, our businesses, our houses on land that we do not own?
We are digital serfs,
Yeah.
and the landlord just showed up with a bulldozer and said, I've decided I'm putting a parking lot here.
That is the thought I think we should leave you with. We live in a subscription world, and it's convenient, but maybe we need to think a lot harder about what we actually control.
Check your backups.
Check your exports, and maybe, just maybe, learn a little bit about file formats that don't belong to a single corporation.
Open standards.
It's the only safety net we have left.
Just in case. Thank you for listening to this deep dive. It's been a heavy one, but a really important.
Stay curious.
We'll see you next time.